The mysterious, the macabre, the out of this world. The following are real people. They have real stories, and they've had real encounters. Here tonight on Newsworthy, 2 words and 2 question marks.
He's alive! Have you checked the children? Get out!
Hello, and welcome to Encounters. Tonight, we bring back one of our most requested episodes by you, the listener. Tommy from Central Kentucky has a crazy cryptid experience. The experience changed the way him and his witness looked at the woods for the rest of their lives. I should know. I was the witness. Tonight on Newsworthy, 2 words and 2 question marks. Hello, Mr. Jerry.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We have with us Tommy from Kentucky today.
Welcome,
He is going to be here. I'm excited Tommy's here. Do you know why?
Absolutely.
Tommy and I have been friends for 35, 40 years.
40 years.
And for all the people out there who are not men, we have a great mix of audience. Let me explain a little bit about how friendship works for men. Men can have a friend and not talk to them for 15 years. And then out of the blue, that friend will call and say, hey, man, I got a flat tire. I'm over here in Georgia. Can you help me out?
On my way.
And I'm on my way. That's how friends with dudes work, right? We don't need that daily communication to be friends for life. I've got many friends like that. So Tommy, an avid and a wonderful listener of our show, thank you for that.
Thanks for putting on a good show.
Oh, thanks, man. I have told the story several times about an evening that you and I went camping. And Tommy heard that, and he's like, finds me on Messenger and says, dude, I got cold bumps and cold chills because that's exactly how I remembered it. And I just want to have Tommy on and have him tell his side, tell the story as he remembers it. And of course, we'll ask questions along the way. But Tommy, take it away, man.
Well, I sure appreciate it. Thanks again for having me on. And as far as the goosebumps, absolutely, it's crazy. To preface, we were really good friends. Stephen lived right up the road. Life happened. I ended up joining the military, and I disappeared. We hadn't talked for a while. And out of the blue, I get a message asking about what we call the iceberg, and that's our Bigfoot story. And I've told this story throughout the Air Force, throughout everywhere I've been. So it's kind of neat. You all might, hopefully, I have some of my buddies hear this story. But with that being said, to hear Stephen tell his version is identical to mine. He reminded me of a few things I had forgotten, and hopefully I'll remind him of a few things too. And we had not discussed this before years. I'm telling you, it's just.
I remember him saying
it's hard to explain.
He hadn't talked to you in years.
Yes, sir. So we'll go with the first night. We were camping under the stars. No tent.
Right in front of that big green truck.
And the worst part was, I remember waking up very soaking wet. There was a lot to do that night. I had forgot the stench that Stephen had talked about. But what I remembered, and this might go along with your show too, is a red dot flying across the sky. And it stopped. Because we thought it was an airplane, but it was a solid red dot. It stopped, and then it zigzagged and went up and disappeared.
I do remember that. That was crazy.
That's crazy. Yes. So we decided to get a tent, like Stephen had said. We went camping again on the side of a hill. But one thing I want to mention is Stephen had a dog named Fred, if I remember. Is that correct, Stephen?
Yeah, it was some sort of golden retriever mix. And it had a
Yeah.
yellow spot on top of its head, made it look like it was bald. That's why we called it Fred, because I had a bald Uncle Fred.
That's pretty cool. But one thing I remember about Fred, Fred barked all the time. And that I'll never forget Fred. So we set up the tent, we get ready. This is getting kind of close to Halloween. My uncle showed up at my dad and my mom's house, and we went up and we toilet papered my uncle's car. You remember that, Stephen? I severely paid for that, by the way, later on down the road.
I'm glad you did.
Wow, because you
Hey,
did.
I didn't.
But that was a good night. And like Steven said, there was nobody knew where we were. My dad owned 27 acres, and we were on a hillside. If you were looking for somebody camping, it wouldn't be on a hillside, not in our neck of the woods.
No, and we didn't have a fire or anything. We weren't that smart.
No, we was just having fun. So Fred was with us that night. I remember Fred at the foot of the tent, and I just remember waking up to this sound, and the sound was, to me, was Ike. Ike. But the weird thing about it is you could hear footsteps too, crumbling through the woods. I don't know if it was branches or what, but you could hear the steps. And I thought, I don't know what time it was. I just remember looking over and asking Steven, like, hey, are you awake? And he was clearly awake. It was, yes. So I get the flashlight and I look down at Fred, and Fred's eyes were huge. They were wide open. And that concerned me because Fred was just laying there. He was not barking. To me, it seemed like he was scared. I remember Fred barking a lot. So like Steven said, we got out and we looked, searched around, screamed, hollered, very scared. And it finally started walking away, and the Ike was getting softer and softer. But this Ike sound, when it was getting close, it was piercing. It was like it was going through you. It was all around you. I can't explain it. I've never heard it again. I don't think I want to be honest.
It was heavy.
But
like
it was
to me, it was like a car audio system that you get in. It's got a lot of bass. You could feel it in your chest.
Yeah, yes. It was definitely, it was piercing and scary. And like Steven had said, we come back up here and I told my parents, and they thought we were just being silly, a couple young boys, but I promise you, here it is, 30 some years later, and we're still telling the same story. And me not hearing your version and you not hearing mine until just now, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And that's when my parents started, I guess, ribbing this, calling it the Ike bird. Ike bird's going to get you.
Oh, Larry.
Yeah, I miss that, man.
Yeah, me too.
But one night, they heard him, and I don't know the full details. Of course, I was gone, and they told me they heard him come up to the house one night, whatever it was, and kind of the same feeling toward them, that heaviness around.
Wow. That's crazy. I actually saw Larry. He worked for the city there for a long time, or the county. I'm not sure which.
In the county, yes, sir.
And I got to go in and was doing some. I don't know if I was delivering fuel to their depot. I've done so many things in my life. I don't remember why I was there, but I was there. Larry remembered me. We talked, and just for the record. So for those out there that say, "Well, I was probably just Larry messing with y'all." Larry was what, 5'2", 5'3"? He was a little bitty man.
No,
maybe
Dad was my size.
Huh?
No, he was my size. He's about 5'11".
Oh, okay. He was a little bit bigger. I remember him being small, but it doesn't matter. he wasn't going to
Yeah.
be walking through the woods in the absolute darkest part of the night without a flashlight or without any kind of help, without falling all over himself. That just wasn't going to happen. But
Not
he
at all.
always, the last time I saw him, he actually mentioned that. He's like, "You heard any of that Ike bird lately?" I was like, "See, why you got to be that way?"
I miss him.
Yeah. So, Tommy, tell us about. Now, you had told me after we reconnected, you had told me about your brother Josh, and Josh had had an experience down those same woods. What was that about?
Well, I don't know if you remember our big black dog bear.
Yep.
Him and Barry went down in the woods and in our tobacco field, and he called me one night. I remember I was in North Dakota. He called me. He was talking to me. He said, "You remember that experience you and Steven had?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, me and Barry was down in the woods." He said, "I saw something big and brown." He said, and it was just kind of sitting there. So we kind of ducked down, and he saw us, and whatever it was, stood up and walked off. And he really didn't say much after that. I guess he was probably running off. If I knowed, I would have been running off too.
Yeah, right. So we often would go down in the woods. We were young, and when we weren't working, we worked tobacco farms a lot back in them days. And when we weren't working, we were down in the woods because it was cooler and it was fun. And I can't tell you how many times we go down there and and me and you would talk about it, the feeling of being watched.
Yes.
And to give people an idea, your folks had 27 acres, but it backed up to 5 other farms that
Yes.
all told would be hundreds of acres. Plenty of habitat
Yeah.
for something of that size to live, or at least to pass through. I'll never forget that, dude. I'll tell that story till the day I'm done, till they put me in the dirt.
Same here. And the fascinating thing about that, Stephen, is we never really talked about it. And I had a clue. I wanted to. I felt like, okay, is that Bigfoot? Is that Bigfoot? But of course, back then there was no internet. As
Right.
soon as I could start searching Google, let's figure out what that sound was. And for years, I could never figure out what that was. Even to the point of have you ever heard of tree knocking?
Yeah. Yeah.
So tree knocking, that was the closest thing that I could come up with on the internet to find what I thought what it could have been. But I don't know.
I,
It was just
I told this story. I went on the show Sasquatch Chronicles, and I told this story. Wes was his name, the guy that runs that podcast. Phenomenal dude, absolutely great. And when I explained to him and was talking to him about the sound, now you got to understand, Wes has interviewed thousands at this point of people that have had some sort of an encounter with what they believe is Bigfoot or some sort of cryptid. And when I told him about Ike, he said that he had had at least 5 other interviews where they had heard the same thing, anywhere from Ike to Ark. So depending on where you're at or what you're hearing, but it's very similar. The feeling is very similar. Like you can feel it more than you can, as much as you can hear it. And so
absolutely.
that really made me feel better about trying to describe it as an Ike bird, if you will, because at least 5 other folks that had very real experiences also felt that. To me, that was validating, if you will.
Absolutely, very validating.
I just never will forget it.
Couple of questions for both of you.
Sure.
How would you guys say that this experience has changed your perspective on the unknown? Not Sasquatch, not just Bigfoot, but the unknown.
Well, I'll speak for me, obviously, but before this happened, and again, Tommy just said we didn't have Google back then. I was pretty cut and dried, whatever. but the not knowing was as almost, we'd been out in the woods long enough to know that if it were a dog or a deer or a squirrel or,
Absolutely.
we'd know what that is. So,
And your dog would know. Your
oh,
dog would be
absolutely.
barking.
Fred would have went
Absolutely.
crazy on something, a deer or something.
I mean, I don't know about you, in the dark, if I was out in the woods in the dark, I trusted my dog more than I did myself, my own instincts and what I could see or hear.
Well, Tommy had this cool, and I don't really remember your cool flashlight, the one with the red lens. That was
Yes, sir.
that was we pulled out, and there was nothing there. That's what was freaky. That was the thing that was like, because we were singing this dumb song, and I don't remember what the song was. So it wasn't like we were trying to be quiet and doze off. This thing didn't give a hot shit what we were doing.
I
It
was
just
trying to tell you all to shut up.
basically.
Yeah.
What was that song? We were singing some song at pretty much the top of our lungs, and
No clue.
it was dumb. But that's when we heard it, and then that's when Actually, I take that back. The first time we heard it and we hopped out of the tent, we were quiet. We were kind of bedding down. But after that, that's when we sung the song because we were like, hey, if we make a lot of noise, maybe whatever this is will go away. But what do you think? I'll let you answer that question, Tommy. I didn't want to answer for
has
you.
it in any way change your
Yeah.
perspective on the unknown?
Well, back then, it really didn't affect me too much. I just didn't know what it was. But for the last 30 some odd years, you just think about it and study it. I kind of felt like, was I crazy? Did we just imagine that? But after the fact and start doing my own little bit of research and then hearing other podcasts and talking with Steven again, yeah, absolutely that changes me.
Let me ask.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. Let me ask another question. And you can go first on this one, Tommy. I know it's been a long time. How did you feel at the time? What do you remember? Fear, excitement, something else? How would you describe how you felt at the moment it was going on?
Fear, definitely fear, and I want to say some confusion because I had no clue what it was, but fear for sure.
Steve?
Oh, I would so you got to remember, 13, 14-year-old dudes, 15 maybe max, don't remember exactly. We're not going to let each other know we're ready to piss our pants, but definitely
Right.
scared.
Just what I was thinking. My next question is this. If Tommy hadn't been there, or in Tommy's case, if you hadn't been there, if you'd been there by yourself.
Out.
Yeah.
Out. Would have ran my happy ass back to
Hold
the
on.
house.
But since there was two of you, boys being typical boys, you can't show fear. You can't be the first one to say, I'm scared shitless, should we go home?
Right.
So you're
Oh, no.
right.
That was not on the table because if we had Larry would have never, ever, ever let us live that down. Ever.
One of you all would have probably let the other one live it down.
Well, that too. But
Big
more
typical boys.
importantly, Larry wouldn't have let us live that down.
That's
Am I
right.
wrong?
Not wrong at all.
How old was Larry?
Huh?
How old was
Oh,
Larry at the time?
I don't remember. Tommy'd be better to answer that. Probably early 40s, probably.
30.
Considerably
Yeah,
older than you.
30s.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
he was a man's man, though. Larry was one of these guys, man. He's one of those guys. When people tell you that they work in a garage and they cut their finger, and instead of going to the doctor or putting a Band-Aid on it, they literally put turpentine on it and wrap it with a freaking cloth and duct tape. That was Larry. He was a man's man, right?
He was a definitely good man.
Yeah, I mean, just you didn't want to show weakness in front of Larry. He was very intimidating, very soft-spoken, very quiet. Whatever he said to you, you had to pay attention because he was real quiet. But, man, I respected the hell out of Larry.
Jerry, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
So, we're talking about the woods down here. Stephen and I knew these woods, still do. I live here now.
Right.
Know these woods like the back of our hands. And there is absolutely a ton of food for a Bigfoot, a Sasquatch. This place is full of unique rabbits. You Do you know how to catch a unique rabbit?
Uh, no, how do you catch a unique rabbit?
It's simple. Unique up on it.
Oh, okay. I
He is
I
a
like
true
that.
listener of
There
our
you go. Yes, he
podcast.
is.
I love it.
Unique up on it. Well, I guess I
Hey.
would. That begs another question, right? How would you catch a tame rabbit?
Tame way. Unique up on it.
There you go. Love it. Love it.
Wow. This is the only show that I can completely drink a bottle of wine in 20 minutes. I love it.
Yeah. At least this is the small bottle.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. The only time I ever drink is when you're here, by the way. I don't know if you realize that or not.
That's what all alcoholics say. I only drink when I'm around you. They say it to 13 people, but they tell them the same story.
So, Tommy, you live there now. Have you had any experience, anything, any tracks, anything that you wouldn't put in? I mean, you're there every day now. So, what has anything happened since?
None. Nothing at all.
Wow.
But here's my challenge to you, Stephen.
Okay.
Let's recreate that night. Let's go down there and camp again.
All right, I'm in. We'll bring Jerry along because he's never had an experience.
Come on, Jerry. Let's do it.
Jerry's never had an experience with a cryptid. He's never had an experience with a ghost, a poltergeist, nothing. I would absolutely. I'm in. I'm game. As soon as let's shoot for the fall because in my old age I don't like it freaking hot. I'd rather camp out when I'm cold than hot.
And
But,
we can even shoot for the spring if you want. But it's just a thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And
You know what?
I actually even remember, I don't know how much the land has changed, but I remember the grove of evergreens that we camped in. What hillside it was on. I remember all of that.
I don't know if you remember.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tommy.
Oh, no, sir. You go ahead.
I started to tell Steve, I don't know if he remembers, but last Halloween, he and I were going to go down to Cynthiana, and there was a couple of, around Halloween, we were going to go to a cemetery and something else that was haunted,
Right.
and then Steve wimped out at the last minute.
So did not
He
wimp
was
out.
sick or something, come up.
Oh, damn cancer. You gotta.
I think it was cancer.
Yeah,
Something
that's
come
what
up.
I had all
Oh,
this.
was it? Something come up and he wimped out. So, yeah.
Gotta only have surgery and do all this shit for cancer.
If you want, we could go down and do it all around Halloween.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. You game, Tommy? For Halloween?
Absolutely. Would love it.
Now, I will say, don't be jealous of my tan because as soon as around Halloween, I'll be coming back off my cruise. I'll be looking good. So, but yeah, I'm good for that. Let's do it because last year we were going to do that, and unfortunately, all that stuff happened. And 100% now and focused. Let's do it. Because the cemetery I was going to take him to, Tommy, is the one right on Main Street. Right across from, as you're coming into town from Falmouth, on the left, the really old cemetery there.
Yes.
And then the house that I was going to take him to is the one coming out your way, out Oddville, right there on the corner as you're coming out of town that used to have the hospital from the Civil War in it. Where the story is, and it's right across from the now defunct, there used to be a lumber company there. So it was right there on that corner of Oddville, and I don't remember the name of the other street, but it was the one that used to go out to Old Lianos.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go. So it's right there on the corner there. And the story is, on certain nights, you can still hear Civil War soldiers wailing in pain from having limbs amputated or whatever. But
another one we might have to stop and visit that
Rise Opera House.
You mentioned until last week is the Opera House.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's going to be around Halloween, they'll be having haunted tours anyway. So we'll definitely check all that out. Make a whole weekend of it.
That's what I was going to say. Every year for the last, 6-7 years, we do the haunted tour from Rise Opera House. It's great. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're in.
We'll take that tour. hit the cemetery, that'd be fun.
Some of the old, my daughter used to live right beside that cemetery. Sold that house last year, year before last. But I'd often walk that when I'd go visit her. And I think the oldest one I found was early 1800s, maybe late 1700s. I mean, it's been there a long time.
Yes.
So,
That,
that reminds me, I got to ask you something after. But anyway, well, Tommy, man, it has been an amazing experience reconnecting with you. Love to have you back whenever you want to come on.
Absolutely. And thanks for making this story more believable. I mean, Steve had told it, but Steve says a lot of things, and we know we have to overlook some of his. So since you corroborate what actually happened, it's much more believable.
Well, it's hard to fake the truth.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
that's true.
And most of the time, the truth is a lot more compelling than anything somebody can
Very
make
true.
up. So, I will never. All I can say in closing with that is I will never forget that night as long as I live.
Same.
And people can make fun of me. People have made fun of me forever for telling that story. You've told it to everybody in the Air Force. I told it to everybody else. And that's okay because I know what happened and I know what it felt like. And I was scared. I'm not afraid to admit it today. I mean, back then, hell yeah.
Scared as a grown man. 13, 14-year-old kid. Yeah, I was. Yeah.
I was scared as hell.
I'd be taking my pants home to mom to clean the next morning.
Yeah. Tommy, thank you again for joining us today and being part of our brand new, exciting part of our show. And I can't thank you enough. Thanks, brother.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see you in Thanksgiving.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Oh, and most importantly, thank you for your service. And I mean that.
Yes, very much. Thank you.
And Jerry, if you can't see the light,
Be the light.